Oh, we should record the whole meeting. Yeah, there we go. We're gonna get that email that says we have like a 3-second meeting in the in the in the cloud somewhere. Um, all right, and Maria, if you don't mind in the chat sharing our agenda for today, so that we can give everyone know what to expect here. Aaron, great to see you. I'm so glad. I know you guys have a gig later today, but really appreciate you being here. A lot of folks have events even starting this weekend on our beaches, and that's what we're all here for. So here's our agenda. It's in the chat where you can translate it into nearly any language using Google Translate. Um, and so I'm actually going to just turn it over to our environmental policy assistant, Maria Rodriguez, who is going to just walk us through the kind of rules of the road here for today. Everyone should be fairly familiar given our experience with Zoom, but never hurts to just repeat that. So, Maria, if you would just walk us through, and then we'll turn it over to our co-chairs to welcome everyone.
Hi everyone, really nice to have you here today. Just some hearing reminders here. So all participants will be muted upon entry. If you would like to mute or unmute yourself, you can use those icons. If you would like to speak, you can use the raise hand function. As you know, this meeting will be recorded and transcribed, and we will send that to all of our participants. The chat will be monitored by our staff, so please feel free to ask questions there. We will be putting the agenda in the chat. As you see, we have a link and it's available in 109 non-English languages. We will have live transcriptions available. I believe that's enabled. If it's not, then we will do that soon. And if you need a moment, take a moment. And here we have some language interpretation instructions. So if you are an English speaker, you can go ahead and navigate to the language interpretation tab on the bottom of your screen and select the English channel. Y si habla español, vaya a la pestaña de interpretación de idiomas en la parte inferior de su pantalla y selecciona el canal de español. And yeah, thank you so much. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you so much, Maria. I really appreciate it. And yes, if you are looking for translation into Spanish, please go to the Spanish language channel, as Maria said. And as we hear testimony from Spanish language speakers, please navigate to the English language room at that time so you can hear the interpretation back into English. So, welcome. My name is Chris Mancini. I'm the Executive Director of Save the Harbor, Save the Bay. We are really pleased to be here. This is kind of a culminating moment for a lot of the work that we've invested our time in over the past 18 months or so. And I would like to, well, more than 18 months, but we've been holding public hearings for about that long on these subjects. And as we get into this, I'd like to introduce and turn it over to our co-chairs, starting with Senator Brendan Crichton, co-chair of the Metropolitan Beaches Commission.
Thank you, Chris. It's an honor to be here virtually. I'm actually at Chris Spagnoli Little League Field in Lynn. Thankfully, the game's a little delayed, so I'm not going to miss any at-bats right now for my son. But it's an honor to be part of this commission. And I first want to say thank you to Bruce, to your entire team at Save the Harbor for all of your work. Certainly to all of our commissioners. It took a ton of time. And then all the community members and leaders that have come out throughout this process. When I think back to my early days as a staffer for Tom McGee, when he first joined the commission was first started, the goal was always to get as much input as we could from the public and have it be a community-led process. So I remember the days of sticky notes and in-person meetings and, gymnasiums and facilities up and down the coast. And now we've had to adjust to, more hybrid virtual setup. But that doesn't mean that, the substance that we've received, the communication, the input we've gotten from community members is any different. And I know that from all the hearings we had and all the work that's been done behind the scenes, that this is going to be a tremendous summit, and we're going to have some great results from this moving forward. I am very grateful for all the people that put in all the hard work. I oftentimes feel like I'm in a class and I'm part of a group project and I'm the kid that just shows up. at the end after all the work's been done and kind of says hello and gives a presentation. But I'm lucky to be part of a group that's incredibly talented, incredibly smart, incredibly driven. So thank you. It's an honor to be here. And please wish the Braves the best of luck here in our very important Little League game. All right, now the kids are coming over here. So I'm gonna mute myself. All right, take care. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. And I don't know if that was, I think your modesty was sincere, but I do need to say that, oh, there we go, go team. I do need to say that you definitely put in the time and put in the work. So, our commissioners are not just figureheads. I will assure everyone else here, they are doing the work. They are responding at all hours of the day as we are moving these issues forward. Representative Modero, we'd love to hear from you as well.
Thank you, Chris. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you. My internet's a little shaky, so I'm going to keep the camera off, and hopefully you'll be able to hear me. But today is an important juncture in the work of the Metropolitan Beaches Commission and the work of Save the Harbor, Save the Bay. Want to echo Brendan's thanks to Chris, Bruce, and the entire team, as well as our fellow commissioners. We were really intentional at the outset of this session in terms of figuring out what we wanted to focus on in this session. And given everything that's been going on nationwide, we decided to really focus in on racial justice, looking to make our public spaces better for people with disabilities, and trying to address language accessibility. These are really important issues that certainly have been persistent problems for quite some time, but obviously, they've come to a head given kind of national discourse and dialogue. And so it really is timely and incredibly important that we focused our efforts on these topics this session. So, over the course of the past number of months, we hosted a bunch of hearings soliciting verbal testimony, written testimony on all of those issues, all in the effort to try to improve our beaches. And I will say, I too was a staffer like Brendan when my predecessor was on the Metropolitan Beaches Commission, and I can personally attest to the incredible benefits that we in East Boston have benefited from at Constitution Beach, whether it's improved infrastructure or whether it's the incredible programming that really activates our beaches and brings people to enjoy what's one of the most important natural resources in my district. So it really is an honor to now be the state rep for East Boston and continue that partnership with Save the Harbor, Save the Bay and the Metropolitan Beaches Commission. And I'm really, really excited about where we are now focusing on these issues. And today, really, we want to hear from community members to see if we're kind of on the right track. And certainly that is our hope. But this work is all about partnerships, right? So Brendan and I and our fellow commissioners who are legislators can only be as effective in the legislating that we do and the budget advocacy that we do. That's all contingent on the partnerships we have with places like Save the Harbor, Save the Bay, but most importantly with community members on the ground, which is why it's critical that, we not only hear you, but we listen to you and we really implement your feedback, because it's only with working together that we can realize the best beaches possible in the metropolitan region. So really excited to work with you all, and I'm excited about next steps from here, because I have no doubt that our work will continue to improve our public beaches in and around Boston. And I'm just so grateful for all of you participating, not only today, but over the course of the past several months.
Thank you, Senator, and thank you, Representative. You just made my job a lot easier because you covered a lot of the stuff I was planning to say. So that's wonderful for me, because we can jump right into into our presentation. I'm going to speak for about 15 minutes with a bit of a slideshow, and there will be moments throughout where I'm going to turn to the folks in the room and ask you a question, ask to hear from the community, hear from all of you. We are holding this summit today to share what we've learned over the past years from the hundreds of people who've participated in these hearings, and then to give you all a chance to let us know if we got it right and what to do next. We recognize this work is ongoing. We think we've made some some steps forward, and we know we have more steps to do, and that's what we're doing here. Ultimately, our goal here is to take this next round of feedback, and today we're sharing our findings, and then we're looking to share our recommendations. That will be our roadmap for the next couple of years so that we can continue to take action on the ground and make improvements on our region's public beaches. And of course, today's summit is particularly relevant given that we are hosting it on this Juneteenth weekend. Not the first official federal holiday that was last year, but in a sense, the first year it's truly kind of, I think, universally being recognized and celebrated. So we're really glad to be some small part of that. All right, so I'm going to begin here and would like to start by thanking everyone for your participation in this. Of course, our Metropolitan Beaches commissioners and our commission co-chairs, who you've already heard from, Senator Crichton and Rep. Modero. And we couldn't have done this without Save the Harbor's fantastic policy team, led by our lead consultant, Bruce Berman, and then our amazing team, Maria Rodriguez, Caroline Adamson, Mimi Huckins, and the rest of Save the Harbor's staff that supported this, including Elizabeth McLaughlin, Kristen Berry, Maya Smith, and Joy Williams, and Patricia Salek. I think I got everybody. And of course, thank you to our board members who are here and who've supported us throughout this. So after the Metropolitan Beaches Commission has released 2 reports so far in 2008 and 2014, focusing on maintenance and infrastructure improvements on our region's public beaches. And as we look to do our 3rd release, we began to examine all aspects of our work through the lens of racial justice and equity, realizing that improvements to our public spaces are not just about the very important things like making sure the bathrooms are open and making sure the trash is cleaned up. These continue to be incredibly important, but there are things we were not addressing and wanted to focus more explicitly on. And of course, as Representative Modero mentioned, and as we all are very familiar with, as protests against police brutality and violence against people of color broke out universally across the country, is when we were scheduling our public hearings on racial injustice in our own backyard. Now, as we began this hearing, we held our first hearing in May 2021, specifically on racial injustice, and systemic racism, and access for people of color on our beaches. It really became clear that the perceptions that people have of our public beaches are shaped by people's personal experience and those of people people's friends and families. Overwhelmingly, what we heard from the hundreds of people who participated were reports of feeling unwelcome or being uncomfortable on the beach. This really, struck home because Save the Harbor, since our early days in 1986 when we were founded and into the 90s when we saw a clean harbor begin to be realized, that these beaches, 19 miles of public beaches, the Boston Harbor Islands, Boston Harbor belongs to the public. We are all investing in that $5 billion investment that gave us clean water and continues to give us clean water and some of the cleanest urban beaches in the country. And the fact that half our population is not feeling that ownership is simply unacceptable. Of course, those perceptions were also influenced by historic and current images of violence and conflict on our beaches. We're not going to focus on these images and these stories. You can find them with a simple Google search on the beaches. But instead, we're trying to acknowledge the past, but look forward. And we want to share this most recent image from just 2 weeks ago of community leaders and law enforcement joining hands on Carson Beach in South Boston, again, the cleanest urban beach in the country, in a prayer for peace. And once again, as we do regularly, and we do at each of our hearings, we at Save the Harbor and the Metropolitan Beaches Commission to reaffirm our commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusive access to these spaces. As I said, following this summit, the Commission will present our recommendations and a statement of our shared vision and values for the Metropolitan Beaches Commission to the Legislature, the Massachusetts State Administration, the Department of Conservation and Recreation, and to the public and all of you. There's going to be opportunity to speak today, but please also share your thoughts and comments with us by email to info@savetheharbor.org and through our Metropolitan Beaches Commission survey, which is available on our website, on our blog. Maria is going to be sharing the link to that in the chat. And again, verbal, written testimony, anything is going to just keep this process going and make this stronger. So to jump right in, we held our first hearing on improving beach access for people of color. We were joined by over 100 people from every community along the coast, as well as a number of communities inland and upland, people who use the beaches. We were really pleased to see so much involvement in this. And again, we heard very specific to different towns and communities improvements that could be made. And you can go to the MBC website and see that recording. You can read the transcript in English or translate it into any language there, and see all of the feedback we received. But one piece that jumped out was this comment from Abdi Ali from the East Anti-Racism Community Coalition. Abdi is incredibly connected and involved in the East Boston community, and hearing from him and from many others that the importance of specific culturally relevant activities on the beaches is a key part of making a place feel welcome and comfortable. And after holding this hearing, we recognized there was some steps we could take to address these issues in the short term and immediately. And so just to share some of what we tried to accomplish in the past year was, first off, to look at the diversity of the commission itself and looking to increase representation and diversity on the commission. I'm really pleased to say, given some open seats that we had on the commission, and given some turnover that some longtime commissioners were looking to step down and change, and we have a number of you are here today. We're really pleased to welcome some of our newest commissioners, including Ghislaine Benzerjeb from the community of Revere, Professor Bob Chen from the UMass Boston as our academic representative. I just saw our newest nonprofit representative, Nicole McLean, join. You made amazing time from your flag raising in, was it Gloucester, I believe, doing actual on the ground work to come back and be at our virtual summit. Thank you. I'm leaving someone out. We do have two pending commissioners who we expect to be officially appointed in the next few hours, if not few days. Christopher Biner from the Boston Police Activities League, and Mercy Robinson, I saw you here, from South Boston and Acción. And of course, our newest Senate representative with her election last year, Senator Lydia Edwards. In addition to that, we've made a point to increase outreach through all of our programs and all of our efforts. Although this was always a goal, we've refocused on this to people of color, people with disabilities, and non-English speakers. We are really proud to have worked with our youth development and community partners to distribute, and we are continuing to distribute, life jackets and water safety instruction, really specifically to groups that work with kids of color, as we know from the tragic data that youth of color are 6 times more likely to die from drowning as white kids. And working in partnership with the Swim Safely Partnership at the City of Boston, with the DCR's lifeguards, with the YMCA's lifeguards, to provide swimming safety instruction at our beaches and continue to do that. And over 2.5 years, we've expanded our Better Beaches program partnership with the DCR, funding 40 new partners and scores of new free beach events. Here's a photo from our recent award ceremony last weekend, 1 week ago right now. You can find a complete list of our Better Beaches program partnership. And thanks to these amazing folks, these 62 grantees, and the amazing staff at Save the Harbor, this summer, starting this weekend, you should be able to find a free event, concert, camp, a ride on a pedicab, an event with trike called Funk on a beach, nearly every day of the summer. And I want to call out our three major grants from this year that we tried to focus on the three issues that we honed in on with the commission, including major grants to support Triangle Inc., the Beachability event, performances by the Veronica Robles Cultural Center, and a Tribe Called Funk. And now it's time to hear from you. What can we do better? What's your response to our findings? What's not been included? And I'd love to. I know Chris Beiner is here from the Boston PAL, and I know you have a word or two to on this subject. Is Chris still here? I know people's internets can be.
I am,
fickle.
and good morning, and thank you for allowing me to be here today. You know, it's really exciting to be a part of the work that's taking place. You know, over the last couple of years, with Save the Harbor, Save the Bay, and you know, certainly, you know, when I first joined Save the Harbor, Save the Bay, you know, things looked a lot different. And I'll tell you, you know, I would talk to people about my work with Save the Harbor, Save the Bay, especially in communities that were underserved, and many people didn't even know what the work was that was taking place at Save the Harbor, Save the Bay. So, you know, I talk to them now, and they're actually participating in programs and activities that Save the Harbor, Save the Bay is organizing and leading. And so it speaks volumes to the true commitment of Save the Harbor, Save the Bay, especially as it pertains to, you know, inclusion and diversity, and really gives people who, quite frankly, didn't feel comfortable at the beaches opportunities to really show what they want that beach to look like and feel like and be a part of. You know, the not just the programming and activities, but you know, decision making. So, you know, I certainly think that you know, Save the Harbor, Save the Bay, the Beaches Commission hearings have really been fruitful for you know, the work that's taking place, and certainly over time it will only get better. You know, I'm so excited to see so many organizations who typically would not be at the beach, who wouldn't typically, you know, and they actually would love to be at the beach. You know, in many cases, it was just for lack of knowledge, and so the intentionality of going out and engaging those organizations, I think, is just been phenomenal. So, you know, just I think as we continue to move forward and continue to engage and continue to invite people to the table, it will only get better. So, you know, I really just want to commend Save the Harbor, Save the Bay, the Beaches Commission, and all the partners for all the work that they've been doing. And you know, I'm looking forward to this summer. This summer's going to be a lot of fun. I know it will. So just thank you for allowing me to be a part of it, and you know, continue the great work.
Thanks so much, Chris. I really appreciate you being here and saying that. And I hope I'm not getting ahead of ourselves or being too superstitious when I have announced you and Mercy as new commissioners before it's technically official, although it's in the process. So we're looking forward to you joining the commission. Anyone else, please use the raise hand function, and Maria can call on you. You know, any commissioners who are welcome to speak to this issue in your own communities. We'd love to hear from any members of the Better Beaches Partnership or residents of any beach users. Oh, I see Coleman's hand is raised.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, welcome everyone. Good morning. My name's Coleman Nee. I'm CEO of Triangle Inc. We are a disability service agency with programs and residences in Greater Boston area and North Shore and even in the South Shore. I have a really interesting perspective on this because I've really been involved with this commission since its inception. I go back to when Senator Jack Hart was the chairman of the commission back in the day. And and the incredible work that the commission has done, and thanks to not just the representatives on the commission, but the incredible advocacy of Save the Harbor, Save the Bay has made a tremendous impact, and we've seen a lot of improvements. I want to talk about our experiences from Triangle Inc. and the disability community, and cannot tell you how thankful we are that when we talk about inclusion and we talk about accessibility, we're talking about all of our citizens, not certain segments, and particularly those citizens that have disabilities, and across a broad spectrum of challenges that they deal with on every day. We several years ago, with support from Save the Harbor, Save the Bay, were able to have some of our residents go out to different beaches and do a survey about the accessibility and what they liked and what they thought needed improvement. And it was really amazing when we brought people to the beach and we discovered that so many of our residents, so many of the people that we serve have grown up in waterfront communities, and yet they have never either been to the beach or very infrequently had ever been to these public resources. And we're really amazed at how beautiful they were, how much fun they could have, how much how available our beaches were to them. But also there were challenges associated with that, and they noted that challenges with accessibility, challenges with transportation getting to the beaches, challenges with parking, challenges with not just infrastructure, but programming and sort of non-ableistic conditions that existed at the beach that might have prevented them from fully enjoying them. So we took the results of that survey. We decided to do a beachability event, and with a very generous grant that we've received every year from Save the Harbor, Save the Bay, and today, we'll be celebrating again beachability at the end of July at Constitution Beach in East Boston, and it's really grown, and now we have over 100 people that come to the beach, not just from Triangle, but from other agencies and people just in the community who have disabilities, whether they be physical disabilities, developmental, intellectual, or they're from our neurodiverse community, and really are able to celebrate. And what we've heard from a lot of these folks, and whether it's getting into the water for the first time in their life, because now they had a floating wheelchair that they were able to access to get out there, to just how much fun they have, to the scenery and the serenity and the just mental health benefits that these beaches have for them. They really enjoy that, and I think we've come a long way in making the beaches more accessible, but there is still a long way to go. We really need to make sure that our beaches are both accessible from an infrastructure perspective, that they meet ADA requirements, and that all of our infrastructure is pertinent to all of our citizens, not just some of our citizens. We also need to make sure that the equipment that will make those beaches more accessible is readily available in there. Things like Moby mats, floating wheelchairs, different life-saving rescue equipment, bathrooms, and just the ability to order from the snack bar. That all people have the ability to be able to get that. And third, I think we really need sort of even more investments in programming for the beaches, to the universal access program, but also ensuring, hey, if we're doing kayaking, if we're doing sailing, if we're doing events at the beaches, make sure that those programs have an accessible component to them, and that people that work at our beaches, whether they be lifeguards or beach managers or maintenance folks, have training in ableism, have that understanding of the disability community, and make sure that those folks have the ability to be able to use these resources. Many of the people that we serve are not wealthy. Many of them exist at or just above our poverty line, and for them, having the ability to go to these beautiful resources, which are right in their backyard, in their communities, that are free and accessible, and provide, a day of enjoyment and a day of connecting with nature and camaraderie and relaxation. It is vitally important that we ensure that those folks have the ability to do that. And I think we've come a long way. We've certainly come a long way with water quality and the cleanliness of the beaches. We've come a long way with accessibility and getting more people to the beach. But I would just encourage that we keep the focus on that and make sure that we make the necessary investments so that, really, when we talk about the beaches being accessible to all, that all really does mean all. And with that, I'll turn it over and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Coleman. That's a perfect segue into our next hearing, which we, if I can make the share screen work, which we held last November on improving beach access for people with disabilities. And it's not to give, this is an open session, so I encourage people to, if anyone else would like to speak to racial justice and access for people of color, please do so now or at any point throughout the hearing. Mercy, yes, thank you.
Sorry, it took me a while to get on the computer. And if my internet's finicky, my children are on their electronics, and that's the only way I can be on this meeting.
Me too.
So if I cut out, I apologize. I want to thank Save the Harbor, Save the Bay. It has really made a difference over the past couple of years. And with all the events happening at the beaches, a lot of the residents have pointed out that, they're having a lot more fun at the beaches, that they feel included, that they feel like you guys are really working hard to make it a happy place and an enjoyable place for them to go to. And a lot of our residents that I've come in contact with in the past, I said, well, I've never been to Carson Beach, yet they lived in South Boston for 15 plus years, it was mind-blowing to me. So getting them out there at these events, and it's well appreciated, and I want to thank you. But we still have a lot more work to do. Chris, you're on mute.
That's always the qualifier. Yeah, there's always more work to do, and we will always say that. So that's why we keep making you all show up on a Saturday morning to talk to us. Giz, so good to see you, and I hope that's a real background and you're sitting in that beautiful garden. Oh, we can't hear you. You're not on mute, but it may be your headphone. Give it one more chance, and then I'll give you. I'm going to move to Jason while you see if you could figure that out.
Hi.
Hi, Jason.
Hi.
Commissioner Jason.
I'm Jason McCann. I'm the whole resident commissioner, and also since I became a commissioner, started a friends group modeled after a lot of the other friends groups that were done around here for Nantasket Beach. We didn't have one until a couple of years ago, and I just want to reiterate, just so much appreciation for Save the Harbor, Save the Bay, and particularly this last year with both the commission hearings and also how the Better Beaches program has been administered this year to open things up, to get more people different types of grants, to diversify, to support more communities of color. Because from my perspective, looking, I guess, in a lot of ways with this is a top-down organization, but my representation is more bottom up from an individual beach. Nantasket Beach is so interesting because it's located in a majority white town, but the visitors throughout the year, especially during the summer, is majority people of color. And so having this kind of this support from the organization, also through these individual programs where we can start offering things that are more diverse, that really, for Nantasket Beach in particular, represent the diversity of the beach that's there, which we really haven't had. Like a lot of the programming, a lot of the things that have gone on at Nantasket Beach, there's kind of a mismatch. Has predominantly been for white people, and so I've just been so energized by meeting all the different people who are connected through the organization, and just echo the previous person, what they said in terms of the more and more events, really making people feel included, and for us feeling like we're offering and starting to offer events that reflect the people who are coming. So I just wanted to offer that gratitude and excitement for the work to continue.
Thanks so much, Jason. I mean, it's amazing the new stuff that we're seeing all down in Hull, and I really appreciate you being there. Giz, do you want to give it another shot?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for having me, Chris. It's been so nice to see all y'all's faces, speaking your words and really, believing and really hearing what you guys have to say. In terms of just POC on the beaches, speaking as someone who's a person of color herself, it can really be hard to like find that kind of community. I know I've been really, really blessed in having the kind of support systems in my life, but I will say it did not go without being completely out there and completely throwing myself into situations or into friendships or connections with people that I really had no relation to, and that can be hard at times. And I think maybe something that we can start to, look into, really explore a little bit amongst the beaches is the idea of intersectionality. Um, I think that a lot of I'm talking specifically for youth, by the way. A lot of the youth out on these beaches, if you will, um, have very diverse means of thinking, come from all different places, are influenced by all sorts of places too. Like for me, I'm Algerian, but let me tell you, Arabic food might not be my favorite, but Salvadorian food will always hit for me. So there's even like these weird niche nuances that's very unique to the Boston area or even Revere Beach itself. I think maybe starting to explore intersectionality and what that looks like for youth that attend particular beaches can be a really great starting point, because it's not just going to be a straightforward situation. Oh, this person's X and that means they'll like X, but it might not be the case. It could be completely different. You never know who their best friends are. You never know who their most influential teachers were. You never know these things, and I feel like maybe taking into account that intersectionality is a uniting force within the youth that we have out here. I'll say for Revere Beach at least. Maybe we can start looking into that, digging deep in there, and try and find some unity within that.
Giz, that's amazing. Thank you so much for saying all that. You beat me to intersectionality, but thank you for saying it. And I don't know if the end of our presentation I should pretend like we just responded so fast to your comments, or if you'll just be delighted that we're already on board here. But I won't spoil it for everyone. Christine and Poe, House of Threes. I love seeing you guys look like you're really responding to everything, and I love that active listening in this meeting.
Thanks for the introduction, Chris. Nice to meet everybody. I'm Poe, the founder of House of Threes. This is Christine, my co-conspirator. We are the first queer collaborative in Boston. And I'm so glad that we are coming off of a conversation about intersectionality. The house motto is a minority plus a minority equals a majority. And I don't think that without everyone coming together and finding the spaces in which we have commonality to push unity through these spaces, it's not going to work, in my opinion. I've been watching for 22 years, and House of Threes is here to make sure we can do our best to make that happen. Very, very appreciative for the grant. We are bringing a ton of queers to Revere Beach, and what that means is visibility. Okay, in our community, we represent everybody. I say queers are the Trojan horses. We exist everywhere, and now is the time for action in a way that is playful. I'm going to get a little emotional about this. For someone in my community to be able to take their shirt off on a beach and wear those scars of honor and know that every single time they're going to take their life in their hands just to have the right to do something that people do so just a privilege that I don't think people really feel when you get to go to the beach and take your shirt off, or not think about the fact that, you could be spotted, followed. I said I was going to get emotional about this. Having this opportunity is absolutely fascinating. the talks of intersectionality, and when we talk about privilege, one of the things that House of Threes we talk about is that only privilege can check privilege, with the voices of the unprivileged, meaning I will check everyone with white skin on behalf of anyone I know who is not that, being autistic. We talk about, elastic people checking other people. This is why it is important that as people who have been othered, that we come together, because if not, we're invisible. And that's where there's danger. So to make it clear, this is going to be an amazing, happy event with so much visibility and just so much progress. That's one thing that we stand for House of Threes. Pride is great. It's a great tool, but when we come down to change and coming together, it's about progress. So I want to thank you for giving us this opportunity and platform. And anyone in this group or anyone out in any of these communities that needs space to organize, clear their head, feel safe, make art, be around community, House of Threes is open to that. So please, we're on Instagram, slide into our DMs. The space is open for you just to come and unite, do what you need to do, and take a breath. So again, want to thank you for this opportunity and looking forward to this. We're looking, soft date, I think, is August 13th. That being said, anyone who wants to get on board and help out, we're also looking for that. Thank you again for this forum.
Wow. I mean, thank you for speaking. I think my thoughts I was having while you were speaking is like, I think emotion sometimes is underappreciated in a forum like this, but it's so powerful, and I really appreciate you kind of getting, putting that out there. I think that's, I'm my brain thinks so like, oh, how what's the next step, and I think a testimony like that, Poe, is such a powerful tool as we start looking at the next phase. How do we advocate? How do we find more funding? How do we bring people together? So I mean, don't be surprised if I start texting you a lot and asking to talk more. So I appreciate that, and thanks for putting yourself out there.
Thank you so much.
And thanks. Yeah, and thanks for bringing like the first queer visibility focused event to the Better Beaches program. I'm really excited about it.
Thank you so much.
At one point, I wasn't sure. Did you say just to be clear or just to be queer? I don't know.
I mean, I think we can go with that. There's a shirt right there. Let's sell it. We'll put your name on it.
I didn't know if that was on purpose or not.
We'll go with it. Happy. Just to be clear, we are queer. Clear, we are clear. We love it. Clear, but not
Aaron.
There we go. Thank you.
See your hand up.
Guys, thank you so much, Chris. My name is Aaron Myers. I am one half of a trike called Funk, which is a mobile musical pop-up party machine. It's got its own sound system, speakers, portable dance floor. And what we love to do, that is me together with Eddie, who is the resident DJ, Soul Select Supreme, is activate public space with an interactive mix of music and movement that really taps into, allows people to unleash their creativity, connect with one another, and ultimately we're about building community. And so on behalf of myself and Eddie, I just wanted to say a few things. First, a word of appreciation for Save the Harbor, Save the Bay. I really appreciate what a proactive and participatory approach you've taken to planning. When it comes to the consultations you've done to inform what you're planning to do in the future, also how you've created a feedback loop. You've let us know, here's what came out of what we heard from all of you. And now I hear you bringing it to bear on the work that you're undertaking with the Beaches Commission. And as it relates to the values of diversity, equity, inclusion, I also see you really making a consistent effort to more fully live them. I echo what we heard earlier about there's always more work to do, there's more to learn, but I see you doing that internally. I see it reflected in your staff at different levels. I see you trying to exercise that in terms of who is on your board, and even on the Beaches Commission. It's not enough just to consult the community and then bring the information to bear on what you're doing. But I think you've got to have people who are a reflection of the community also in positions of authority that exercise and help make the decisions. And so I see that starting to happen. And for me, that's really bodes well for the future. On behalf of what we've been able to do with Better Beaches funding, I think there's two important things to highlight very quickly. One is that my partner and I, Eddie, we come from the world of dance, street dance specifically, but also international dance traditions. He's Afro-Latinx, he's from the Dominican Republic. And what it's allowed us to do when we pop up and get down on different beaches, last year we had something called Put Your Body in Motion by the Ocean. It allows us to bring in creative collaborators and members that are from these communities from which these traditions come, these beautiful dance and music traditions, to not only participate, but to showcase their talents and play music that maps to the populations that are coming to the beach or who we want to see on the beach having fun with us and one another. So when it was Revere, it was about having our friend Francis Noel, who's part of Meta Movement's Latin dance company, play a mix of different Latin music, but also Brazilian music. We had some Aviva out there dancing with us as a dance collaborator. So this is what you've allowed us to do, is to create these opportunities and a platform, if you will, in the community with our creative collaborators. But the other thing you've done, I really appreciate, and for our series this year, is that you connected with other community-based organizations who share our values. So now as we plan for our next series, which is called Bike to the Beach and Boogie, we're now collaborating and trying to bring out the bicycling community, which maybe hasn't even made its way along any of the shoreline, right, that you help to curate and steward. But we're now talking with Quinn Cycles, one of the other grantees, about an activation on Williston Beach. We're so excited for that. It's just allowed us to build out our community and collaborate around things that are really exciting. And even last but not least, beyond what's happening as a part of Better Beaches Initiative, you connected us with folks like Nicole McLean of North Shore Juneteenth Association that just held a flag raising ceremony for this important holiday downtown Lynn, and we were able to collaborate with them. And while it's beyond the scope of the blue and green spaces, that would not have happened had you not helped us connect with them through the Better Beaches Initiative. So grateful to all of you, so excited for the summer and to come together and get down. And thank you for this opportunity to share our perspective.
Wow, thank you, Aaron. And sorry I mispronounced your name earlier. I always get that wrong. But no, we really appreciate the feedback and love working with you guys. And of course, the event in Lynn was, was the one time I was in the office instead of working from home right near Lynn when I could have actually come to that. It looked amazing. Christian, we'll do both trike groups, right? Back to back.
Yeah. One thing Better Beaches needs to work on is not having me always follow Aaron, because I can't. I mean, this is just unfair now.
For one second, I thought that was going to be honest, honest, useful feedback, but
I wanted to, yeah, that's all I got. That's all I was gonna say. So, I'm with the Tri-Cub. We're the giant pedicab tricycle people. And I just wanted to start with thanking Better Beaches for, well, earlier House of Threes was mentioning Trojan horses, and as a queer man, I'm a bit of one, but pedicabs are the ultimate Trojan horse as well, because one of the things, just getting us out on these beaches, great. So we have these people creating ambassadorship, creating belonging. And one of the things that happens for the drivers is we hear the stories in real time. In pedicab, there's a thing called downtown dish, where once people get on this thing, honesty flows out of them. And it's just, as the driver, you get everything that you name the experience, they're going to tell you about it. And so when we were on the beaches, we were able to literally casually gather real-time response, real-time experience. And the thing that, we were often hearing was about like a sigh, like, oh, I feel like I belong here. And that's the purpose of this vehicle, is to create that ambassadorship, to create that sense of belonging in a space. It's a magical thing. It's really a magical, it looks like a goofy wagon, and it is a goofy wagon, but at the same time, as far as connecting people, it's incredible. From that though, what we're hoping for this year, and we want to keep doing, is tap into us. We're aligning a lot of our work with other events, and it's amazing the casual information we gather, or I should say the very formal information we gather casually. We hear the experiences. It's almost like microtherapy. We're not trying. It's just what happens. And that's exciting for us, but it's also, it represents, I guess, a positive challenge. How do we, how do we scoop up all this ambassadorship? How do we get these experiences and get them back to whoever we're working with, whether it's Better Beaches as a whole, or whether it's the individual events that we're at? We want people to lean on us, excuse me, to gather that, because every time we're at an event, we're getting what may not be said. They're, you're the organizer, they come up and they want to do positive, oh, and this is great, and that's the other, but we'll hear the, well, you know what, there was, like, for example, one of the things that came up a few times, surprise, surprise, and this is actually maybe a challenge for Better Beaches to put in the back pocket. We really don't know which parts of Massachusetts were legally ceded from the indigenous. And I can't tell you how often that comes up along beaches, which seems like a small thing when you're talking about all this other social justice. And then it's suddenly you're like, that's not a small thing. That's kind of a big thing to at least know what is going on. And so then we have these engaging conversations. That's one topic. The other topic is, I'll tell you this much, where a pedicab can sneakily go is where a wheelchair could go, or where someone with special mobility issues can go. We are the ultimate assessor of whether or not the job is being done for accessibility. And so this is one of the reasons why we're glad to be there, because we literally, like, we're doing casual survey the whole time of this ramp sucks, or this sidewalk's terrible, or this pavement is like more holes than pavement, these kinds of things. We want all these experiences I'm talking about, we want to get them back over to you guys, as opposed to just like casually gathering them. So that's partly our challenge, but also something we want that challenge. Just so folks know, pedicab drivers are all independent contractors, and we work together in a collective. But at the same time, at the end of the day, I don't know if anyone heard, capitalism called, it's not going away. So we have to make our money, and that's kind of what pedicab drivers do. But when tasked with this kind of thing, our job is literally to be an ambassador. So that's when we come alive. That's when we want to do a better job for you. So we're excited that Better Beaches is basically hiring Trojan horses. I think it's brilliant. It's genius. More of that, please. But yeah, we're still gathering up our, this is sort of off topic, we're still gathering up where we're going to be this summer. So bother us if you think you need a Trojan horse. But also, just from a experience standpoint, just from a data gathering point, you have Trojan horses. They look like, fun things to do, rather than downtown dish, maybe it's beach tea. I don't know what you want to call it, but we can gather it for you guys. I'm excited for the opportunity. I think it's long overdue. Granted, we're an entertainment technically, but using us for accessibility, using us for data gathering, using us to connect, people who don't have any sort of familiarity with the beach to suddenly make it theirs. Hugely, like, that's my emotional point, like hugely overwhelming. Yeah. I'll echo what people, I'll wrap it up. I'll echo what people said. I can't tell you how many people had never been on a beach, and they could breathe a sigh of relief, because now they're being taken around like damn royalty, and that's how it should be. So thank you so much, Chris, and everyone at Better Beaches, and I'll shut the hell up. I talk a lot.
Thank you, Christian. No, I can't believe I hadn't thought of this idea of the pedicab as the ongoing survey for disability access. Like, let's talk more about that. I'm going to go to Connor, and then I'm going to ask anyone else to hold comments so we can do the next. This is fantastic, and I love it. But we won't stop the meeting until everyone's had a chance to speak. But I do want to get through the other updates before we officially run out of time. So Connor.
Chris, thanks so much. I just happened upon this group because someone forwarded me an email, and I'm so glad I did, because this is fantastic. I live in Situate on the South Shore. I'm on the Beach Commission in town, and we're pursuing many different initiatives to try to improve accessibility to our beaches in all different ways. When you were talking about all your different initiatives in Boston, two quick things came to mind. I'm not sure how much they've been looked at or not. But when I think about how historically beach access and pool access, recreational water access has been denied to certain communities, and how much we have to deliberately counteract that now. And it sounds like you're doing a tremendous job of that with all these cultural events. I'm wondering, have you engaged schools in that? You know, field trips to the beach, that's something I grew up with. A lot of people, you know, white privileged kids in Massachusetts do field trips to the beach. I don't know how much that's a thing in the city. And then the other thing I thought of is representation on the beaches. You know, the lifeguards on beaches are the power figures, right? They're the figure of authority. And I just wonder if there's an opportunity to look at whether it's through youth programs or whatever, you know, who is going into lifeguards. And, you know, hearing about this queer event, like how cool would it be for some young kid who's queer to go to the beach and see this lifeguard and be like, oh my gosh, I see myself there in this, you know, power figure. So those are two quick thoughts. And then just something I wanted to share, initiative we're doing down here that I'd love to follow up with you offline for your expertise. We're a community that uses the METCO program. And we're also a community where the beach access is pretty privatized. So all the parking is for residents only. So something we're trying to change right now is make parking, you know, residence sticker available to the family to participate in METCO. And if it works here, I'd love to try to extend that in the state. And that's where I think you'd be helpful with your connections to state legislature. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Connor. Really appreciate you. Love that you found us. We had some folks from Situate in our first hearing, actually. So really glad to see you here. And let's follow up online. I mean, just really quickly, you know, Save the Harbor. You know, we bring 30,000 people for free, kids mostly, to the harbor islands, the beaches, and the harbor each year when there's not a pandemic. And to your point about lifeguards, I do want to call out our Commissioner Susan Hamilton from the DCR is here, and the DCR has been incredibly responsive. There's been a huge challenge in finding and hiring lifeguards, and you know this is a pipeline issue in part. But you know, I almost considered quitting this job and getting a job as a lifeguard. They're offering like a signing bonus, and they're up to $25 an hour. But maybe hold out, Susan. Right? You guys going to keep going up on that if people hold out? No pressure. But you know, we do these trips to Spectacle Island every year, which has a swimming beach on it, and DCR was incredibly responsive in making sure that there will be lifeguards on Spectacle Island so that the 500 kids who go there every Tuesday and Wednesday this summer with our boats will be able to swim because they'll have guards and they'll have safety. So that's just very briefly, but I appreciate you being here and we can follow up more. And thank you, Susan, for that. All right, I am going to move into our second hearing, which we held in November. And I know we've already heard from Coleman about some of the work that we do there. But again, we were joined by over 100 individuals representing communities from north to south on the water, inland and upland communities. We had Kristen McCosh from the city of Boston speaking as well on our panel, specifically about her experiences as a department director, but also as a resident of South Boston, dealing with ramps and beach access and parking. And this quote, more than anything, really jumped out at us from retired Colonel Andrea Gale Bennett, who summed it up. And I've used this quote so many times since then, that without accessibility, with limited accessibility, turns people into spectators instead of participants. And this is especially true of the disability community, people with disabilities, but you know, is true for anybody, and especially when we look at that question of intersectionality. And that's almost become a mantra for us, I think. You know, we want people to be participants in your spaces, not spectators. And again, we understood from what we heard that we could take some immediate action. And so made funds available to purchase mobility mats and beach wheelchairs so that people with physical disabilities can have access to the beach and the water. We are doing that again this year. I put my email in the chat. Please reach out and ask us if you would like a floating wheelchair, if you'd like a sand wheelchair, if you'd like a mobility mat. DCR has the amazing universal access program and has this availability on many of the beaches. But if you're a community organization and you would like to increase that, we want to make that happen with you. We also worked with the DCR to secure funds to repair and maintain the ramps, stairways, and paths on the region's public beaches, which of course are one of the main obstacles when they're not clear, when they're in disrepair, or when they're covered in sand, which I'm going to show you on the next slide, is an ongoing effort. And there's some great on the ground DCR staff who love the help, and we are proud to show up with volunteer groups to work on this. And so we continue to host beach cleanups to haul away truckloads of sand, stones, and debris. It's a little bit small in this photo, but on the right image from the patch, you can see that ramp down near M Street Beach, covered halfway up. Again, the ocean is a dynamic place, and that sand moves around and it covers up those ramps. And so we have to stay on top of that stuff. And Christian, that's where we'll come back to you to like, bike every ramp. Let's see, let's do some off-roading, and then make a note and send us the GPS coordinates, and we'll show up with shovels. We have no shortage of people who are looking to give back and bring a huge group of folks out to service our beaches. So I did that one in record time. But again, I know, Coleman, we already heard from you on your work, but I'm going to lower a couple folks' hands here. Sorry, who already spoke, but just put it back up if you'd like to speak again. Coleman, I see you just put your hand back up, so please.
Yeah, I just really wanted to share too. Thank you for all of this, and yeah, really, honestly, it's so encouraging to see this work going on. One of the things that I said I'd been with the Beaches Commission for a long time, but I'll give you an even deeper perspective. Back I grew up in the city of Boston. Back in the early 80s, I was a lifeguard on Carson Beach. And at that particular time, I sat on that beach for 3 years. And in 3 years, maybe one person went into the water. The harbor was unclean. It was dangerous. There was really nobody came to the beaches. I mean, people might have, they might have come down and put a lawn chair out, but even then the beaches were unclean. They were filthy. It was really, it was really sad. And today I drive by those same beaches in South Boston, and they are packed with tons of people, and people are swimming, and people are having fun, and there are families out there, and there's volleyball and everything going on. And again, we just, from our perspective, we just want to make sure that that is a fantastic development. It's a tremendous amount of credit goes to Save the Harbor, Save the Bay, and the Beaches Commission, and the Legislature and DCR for getting this straight. But we just really want to make sure that activity and everything that's happening there is really accessible so that more people can take advantage of it. Really appreciate the efforts that the Commission and Save the Harbor, Save the Bay are making in that regard.
Thanks again, Coleman. Really appreciate it. The Beachability event continues to be, I think, an iconic moment, and the efforts we're looking to advance on is so that that's available to people any day, and easily available to people any day, not just if there's a fantastic event happening. Again, please put your hands up. I'm going to move to the third and final hearing from this session. And comments, are welcome at any time, either after this or at the very end of the presentation. But we held our third hearing this year, overcoming language barriers to beach access. And I just want to point out, this whole thing has been an iterative process. When we held our first hearing, our intent was to focus on race, public health in the depths of the COVID pandemic, and climate change. And we are going to be moving on and dealing with climate change. But we heard in that first hearing that the comment about intersectionality, that language was really important, that people didn't understand, couldn't actually understand what some of the rules and regulations were, that there was limits for people with disabilities. But once again, we were joined by over 100 people, and not the same 100 people, I will say, at all of these hearings. We had different folks coming, and you'll see the list at the end of the hearing. But I think Boston Councilor Mejia was at this hearing and summed up this comment, I thought, really well, which was our assessment that sorry, my screen is blocked and I can't read my own notes by all your wonderful faces. her observation that everything is in English predominantly. And if we're serious about creating these public spaces, then translation, interpretation, and information justice has to be that conversation. And we couldn't agree more. But once again, understanding that there's some immediate action we could take. And we actually, prior to that hearing, we as a staff at Save the Harbor and the Commission did a survey of the community, the communities in the beaches in the Metropolitan Beaches area. And I'm not going to actually ask anyone to shout it out, but you feel free to put your guess in the chat. But we surveyed over 250 signs on the beaches, and some are older and in disrepair, hard to read. But of these 250 signs, you'll have 4 seconds to put your guesses in. How many were not in English, or how many had translations not in English? I gave you a hint with the amount of seconds, but we found 4. There were 4 that had, 3 of which had translation or were exclusively in Spanish, and 1 that had multilingual translation on 4 beaches. And I think that just drives home the point that there's a lot of information out there, but there's a lot of public health information. There's a lot of basic information for hours. I think one example in East Boston, which was not directly on the beach, but on the Greenway, going to and from the beach, that there was a very specific example, but a woman who spoke Russian routinely would get locked onto the bike path because of the timing of her commute. She would be walking back, and she would be able to get on the bike path, but the gates would lock at the other end before she got to the other end. And, again, this was English language only information that wasn't letting her know that she was that this was going to be happening. But we're really grateful and proud to let that Acting Commissioner Stephanie Cooper made a public commitment to implement multilingual signage and QR codes at all of DCR's beaches and parks. And that process is underway. We just had a meeting with the interpretive department of the DCR to put multilingual signage about public health on Kings Beach in Lynn, where the beach water quality is lower than in most of our other communities. And so that process is underway, working together there. We also have spoken with the Department of Public Health to work with us, the MWRA, the Commission, the DCR, to improve the accuracy of beach posting protocols, which in our assessment fails to protect the public health. And as the example, we did a pilot study. Our terrific policy team surveyed the water quality analysis of when there was low water quality on Constitution Beach, which I should say is a very clean beach, gets a 90 or 92% rating overall, but that does mean there are some days a year when you need to be careful. It is an urban beach. But the flags, the communication that told the public when it was safe and unsafe to swim were incorrect 75% of the time last year. And in 2020, by the way, they were incorrect 100% of the time, which means they posted a red flag when the beach was clean. So it was taking days away from folks when they should have been swimming on hot, wonderful days, specifically over the holiday weekend last year, I recall. And then on the flip side, in some cases was marked clean on days it was dirty. So this problem is also exacerbated by the fact that the beach water quality website in the DPH is available in English only and has not been updated since 2001. It includes some incorrect information. It doesn't accurately reflect what the information that they're providing with. We did have a productive meeting with DPH last week, and they politely declined our request to join us today to share their thoughts on posting and flagging accuracy, or plans or timeline to make this possible in English and other languages. So we feel incredibly strongly that timely and accurate information about water quality, human health and safety, and beach regulations needs to be available to everyone, including folks who don't speak English as their first language. So following that third hearing, again, we understood we could take immediate action. And so, we produced and distributed a report on best practices for multilingual signage, which you can find on our website and translate into 109 languages. Google Translate is a wonderful thing. Made all subsequent MBC hearing and meeting notices and releases available on our website. We've begun to add live interpretation at all MBC hearings. Today we are interpretation in Spanish, which was requested. Again, we know there's more that can be done. We're working on having the resources to be able to provide more languages at all times, but are trying to be prepared for folks who require that or would like that translation and interpretation at meetings. We are working with DCR, MWRA, and the city to implement best practices for multilingual signage. And we did take the liberty of moving the Bureau of Environmental Health's website FAQs onto our website, where you can translate them, despite the fact that some of that is still outdated information. So again, I only have about 2 minutes more of presentation after this, but by a show of hands, but if anyone would like to speak, you have comments. If it's not specifically on language interpretation, I'll finish up and then we can open it up widely on any subject. I'm going to take that as again, not to cut anyone off, but Giz, this is what I was so excited. You were talking about intersectionality in youth and teens. As I said, this is an iterative process, and throughout this, we said, well, there's a group we haven't heard from. We realize, and that is young people and teens. This is a large demographic. This is a large group, people who have use of the beach, who want to be out there. And we're planning to engage them more actively. We have 40 young people mostly from the city of Boston Public Schools, who work for us each summer. We talk to them regularly. It's a very interactive group. And we, again, partner with 130 community and youth groups. And we'd like to bring your youth together to talk specifically about how to use the beaches, how they what their needs are for safe and productive use of our public spaces. Each year when the weather gets hot, those first couple weekends, and we saw it again this year, there's high activity on the beaches, and you get a bunch of people who've been pent up with the quarantine together, and things can get out of hand. We don't deny it, but I think one of our fantastic partners at Inner City Weightlifting, this quote in the Globe from a couple weeks ago sums it up perfectly. And again, in terms of a mantra, we really need to find more things for kids to do in the summer. And, I loved seeing this from Reggie Talbert. And I'm just going to circle it back to our great partners and grantees in the Better Beaches program. Many of you here, this is what you're doing. Go to our website, find the list of activities to see that you can find something nearly every day of the year. We did a participatory budgeting process this year, and we heard from a lot of young people. 400 people or 500 people participated in that process. One of the top vote getters was a teen event on one of our public beaches. And so we began working really closely with our partners in South Boston and at DCR on the commission to put together a teen beach event, which is going to be July 1st. So if you've got a youth group you work with, we'd love to have you bring your group down to that. There's going to be fishing, kayaking, food. The Boston Police ice cream truck will be there. I know we've got a bunch of folks from a couple of the police youth groups are already registered.
Pedicab rides.
Pedicab rides. Sorry, Christian. There will be pedicab rides. We're going to put everyone to work, make them assess accessibility points on the day. So, but that's our presentation for today at our summit. Again, the question here is, did we get it right? Please help us do this next phase and put into place our recommendations, which will be coming out. Thanks to our co-chairs again, Senator Crichton, Rep. Modero, all of our commissioners who are here and spoke today. I'm not ending the meeting. I am opening this up to public comment. But again, to make sure I do all my thanks to the MBC, to Save the Harbor's amazing staff, our terrific board of directors, to the DCR and the administration, and the over 200 people who took part in these hearings so far, and even more with written comments that we're still pulling together. It's nice to see all these names, all these folks participating. All of your names, if they're not on there already, will go on to this list. And just want to close with kind of a way we've been thinking about this. And when we look at the environment, we value biodiversity as a measure of the health of our ecosystem. And I like this analogy for the health of our community. The diversity on our beaches, in our public spaces, is one of the most important measures of the health of our society. So thank you so much all for joining us today. Have a happy Father's Day on a wonderful Juneteenth weekend. Enjoy the extra day off, but think about why we're here and why we're acknowledging that day. And I've just been told my computer's not plugged in. That's terrible. All right. I see hands raised, and if I get kicked off here, Maria, if you can continue to call on folks, I'm going to make sure I don't get kicked off. Nicole.
Hello, sorry I don't have my camera on, but I just wanted to comment on what Save the Harbor, Save the Bay has done by bringing all of these organizations together, the collaborations that I have in the works and I've already been able to bring to life for my organization, for North Shore Juneteenth Association, are enormous. And I just can't thank you guys enough for bringing all these diverse organizations together and for funding them and making sure that their vision for their event is actually going to come together and work. And I just want to also say that I'm honored to be a new commissioner on this commission. The work you guys are doing is amazing. And I'm so excited to join in and be a part of that. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to have you on the commission. Bob, you as well, our other newest member.
Very happy to be here and continuing learning. It's very exciting about what's going on. Had three quick ideas. One is youth are really smart and creative and unconstrained by, I think, a lot of things. I won't get into the details, but we might ask youth in ways what they want for their future use of the beaches in a very wide demographic swath, and to have them draw a vision of that would be a really simple way of gathering maybe 1,000 visions of what they would like to be doing on the beach, and then we can figure out ways of accommodating that for the future use of the beach. So youth art as a way of polling and surveying. The second is that as we get more people, particularly young people and diverse young people, to the water, there is an incredibly growing exponentially opportunity for jobs on the water and offshore, offshore wind and aquaculture, which are traditionally undiverse fields, but it's just at the very beginning. So there may be some way to engage folks in the opportunities of these future jobs. And the third is, as much as the signs are all in English, even in English, they're scary looking. And so maybe there's some diagrammatic and artistic ways of making the signs more friendly and less language specific. And we might actually have the youth design some of those signs. So the three quick ideas that be happy to follow up on.
You said it. It's on the record. I love it. Giz, your hand is up again.
Okay, so it's interesting that you segued into youth, because that was the main topic that I wanted to talk about, which was the youth. So yesterday I sat down with myself and I just kind of wanted to write down the streams of consciousness I was having regards to being someone who was very recently, youth. I can still identify with youth, so I'm like, all right, let me just like tap into this and like hone in for as long as I can until, that generational gap ruins me, I guess. But so what do young ones want to feel? I wrote expressive, joyful, and able to jump and take space. I also wrote talk to people within their social groups. And then I kind of segued into this idea of thinking, or really remembering that it was kind of awkward being like a teen or like a youth. And really, they just want to feel accepted and a part of something. It's part of something great too, And then it brought me to the notion and the familiar feeling of youth have the purest form of hope. They actually have the conscious ability. Once, they hit like 16, 17, 18, they're able to realize, and they're the only people who have that, privilege, no matter where they're coming from or who they are or what they're about, is that they really have their whole lives ahead of them. And of course, like there are exceptions to everything, but they really do have their whole lives ahead of them. And tapping into this very unique, very fleeting feeling that these youth have as you know, adults or mentors in the community, I think that's something that we should capitalize on all the more, especially in these days, you know, with the pandemic and, you know, these past 2 years. Like I've seen you know, my younger brother and my younger sister change so much within 2 years, changed in ways that I've never been able to even change within myself in my time as a 16, 17, 18-year-old going to Revere High. So then I wrote down how to translate this to safe beach time activities. So I'm thinking about this event that I went to that was thrown by my good friend, Ashley Meadowcroft. She goes by Ash, and a friend of hers. And they actually threw a type of event. We called it Woodstock, or they called it Woodstock. I was invited because I know I heard through the grapevine. It was, you know, it's everything that you think that Woodstock should be. There were private vendors, there were musicians there. I hope you guys can see this, but lots of jewelry making, flower crowns, like man knocked out with a bunch of tie-dye that he's selling with his husky dog. Like you would have sworn we were in Vermont kind of thing. And this was something that was organized very quietly, very peacefully, and the turnout, over 30 people. It wasn't publicly advertised. It was nothing too crazy, but when I tell you the impact that all of us together had made just being in this space, this was in Revere. I don't know, it made me cry. A couple people were crying at this event, not gonna lie. It was just such a beautiful time of, you know, a bunch of, you know, hippie folk, if you will, getting together and just like playing music and like having a great time. And I was talking to Ash, who was the organizer of this event, and I was telling her about my current position, da da da. And she was like, you know what, like we need to do something for the youth. She was saying little concerts, but I kind of basically just want to shout out if anyone is down to really do something this summer at the beach for the youth specifically. I know me and Chris had talked about, you know, Revere Beach kind of going viral for reasons that we didn't really want them to be going viral for, especially on TikTok, you know, getting a little bit rowdy on the beach, you know, increased police presence, you know, it wasn't good vibes, if you will. The vibes were not there. It's not fun. It's not cool to see youth trying to do something and then them not being able to be totally successful with it because they don't have the kind of guidance. They don't have any mentees. They don't have someone reaching out to them to be like, hey, you want to do this? Let's help you do this. And I think that Save the Harbor has this very unique position right now to be able to collaborate with certain youth. And I think a lot of the people who are in this meeting right now are very well connected with youth. And I think this is something that if we take a very conscious effort, we can do something really great and do something really fast too. I think that the youth is ready for it. I think that the beaches are ready for it. I think we finally have the group of people in the community that are ready to rally around for youth to help them feel what they want to feel, which is that feeling accepted, feeling great, feeling like they're a part of something, feeling at home, feeling at peace within, you know, their local beach or with their friends. And, you know, the pandemic was quite traumatic for a lot of these kiddos. I'll be honest with you. I still see it every day, and I really want to be there for them. And I think that we can be there for them in ways that they won't even realize how great it is until they're like my age thinking back on it, kind of thing. But yeah, thanks.
What great comments from our last couple of commenters to set up our next hearing and our next phase. I really appreciate it. All right, the floor is open. If folks want to raise their hand, I will also, you know, be happy to stay and casually talk with folks. You know, we have a half an hour if we want it, but I know it's a beautiful Saturday, and if people want to get out, and I won't hold that against you.
I'm actually out of town for the weekend, so I'm gonna step out and enjoy the background.
I figured out that is a real background, isn't it? I saw the leaves moving. Yeah,
Yeah, some
nice.
trees. It's really nice out here.
Nice. All right, guys,
All
thank
right,
you
well,
so much for being here.
bye, Chris. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, everyone. I'll be connecting with some of y'all, so don't be surprised if you hear from me. Ciao, everyone.
Terrific.
Bye.
Connor, I see your hand up again.
Thanks. I had a quick question for you. If you had a
Yep.
magic wand and today, this weekend, you could change something, just, you know, what would be the one thing you would change for this summer?
Oh my goodness. The one thing I would change.
You have 30 seconds.
I have 30 seconds. How am I supposed
I'm
to
just
ask?
kidding.
I have like 4 different answers in my head. Yeah, I'm gonna take my privilege as the ED of Save the Harbor, and I'm gonna be a little loose. I'm gonna answer not just one thing. I'm gonna answer a couple things. Um, I want to see all of the events that are planned to be really successful, and I know that they will be because we have great people working on it, and we have really dedicated staff. I'd like to see clean water and progress on the beaches that still need it, and communication. The point that we made in the presentation about having uh, the the Department of Public Health's flagging accuracy. It sounds very specific, but having that flagging accuracy improved, I think, is a big deal because it will make sure people are safe on the beaches when it's time to use them, and it makes sure that communication is clear. I want to see more daily easy access for people with disabilities on any beach. You know, that idea of spontaneity and being able to head down whenever you want, like someone abled can. And then, you know, any day I want, I can head down to a beach and walk onto it, get in the water. But that's not possible at every single beach for every single person. So we'd like to see that that happen as well. I want to see more people coming into these into these hearings and into our grants program, and more funding for that, which it looks like, thanks to our commissioners and our allies in the Senate and the House, that by next year, knock on wood, I got to be superstitious. I'm not superstitious, but I'm a little stitious, that we will have increased funding to be able to do even more grants and more funds for these amazing events that you all are planning. Amanda just put a question: has any ARPA funding gone towards water quality improvement? Yes, Senator Crichton secured $5 million for Kings Beach and Lynn, which is the dirtiest beach in the Commonwealth. And there's a water quality engineering steering committee working together to identify solutions for the issue on that beach, Lynn's only beach. And so that is both a water quality and an environmental justice issue we have. Oh, terrific, Amanda. I live in just over the border in Swampscott, so we should meet up. All right. Thank you all for being here. I'm gonna officially wrap this up, and but I'll stay in the meeting. I know some of our staff will as well, if anyone wants to keep chatting. I really appreciate you all being here. Thank you to everybody. Great job, team, putting this together. And have a great summer.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Chris,
Maria.
and
Just
thanks
put the
everyone.
article in.